As always, we start out with the headlines put together for us by Kejang Henry Atembe.
By conflicting parties in Cameroon to enter into peace process after 6 years of conflict. After protracted discussions, the government and separatists are poised to sit on the table for discussion. Meantime, the Deputy Defense Chief of the Ambazonian Governing Council, Emmanuel Dong, alias Capo Daniel, has saluted the initiative and called for the war to stop. And Cameroonians demand rapid results on the death of Amplitude FM radio manager Martinez Zogo, brutally assassinated after disappearing for 5 days. The political and civil society class want answers from the government of this umpteenth assassination of a journalist coming 2 years after the killing of Samuel Wazizi. 6:50 News rolls out in a jiffy with anchorman Tariqa Divine Ramsey Jr.
Thanks once again for keeping the date. And so, earlier today, scores of press men and women donned their tools, poured out of their newsrooms and trooped to the premises of Amplitude FM in Yaoundé. They all had one singular objective at the back of their minds: denounce in the strongest possible terms the brutal elimination of that radio station manager and host, Martinez Zogo. Beatrice Ngamo was a part of that procession. Here are some highlights.
The destination of the press this Monday morning, after yesterday's macabre discovery, Amplitude FM. With heavy hearts, the press came to pay homage to their own popular radio host of Embouteillage and station manager of Amplitude FM, kidnapped and assassinated. Martinez Zogo's microphone soiled. He's no more, but embouteillage, that is traffic jam, was at the radio this morning. Nothing on the airwaves as they implore the intercession of the Almighty God.
It's difficult.
Cliquez and friends, inconsolable.
When it happened to Francis Wazizi, we haven't heard anything up to now. The same issue with Corpse and now Martinez. Who is next? It's like the media in Cameroon is a haunted field. You shouldn't speak the truth.
And this is a manifestation of the newly found romance with barbarism against the press of this country. And we say that this is a dastardly act that must be condemned in all ramifications.
Rather telling us that our place is threatened in the society, we would rather condemn what is happening to the profession and to human lives.
Justice for Martinez Zogo's mother, the unanimous voice as journalists without fear.
Every journalist should consider himself, herself, a Martinez Zogo, because we are all potential victims. We are all in the radar of these people who want to cover up the truth in this country. But they can kill all the journalists, but they will never kill the truth.
We hope that our authorities will do proper investigations, and no matter who is behind it, nobody's above the law in a lawful state. So we definitely hope that justice will take its course.
Stop press murder. One assassination too many. The act of murder, no matter the reason, what the press is condemning, and look forward to seeing the actors punished. His only crime, his shout for change. The mortal remains of Martinez Zogo is presently at the Yaoundé Central Hospital for autopsy.
Elsewhere and in their hundreds, journalists stormed the premises of the Ministry of Communication in Yaoundé earlier today too to demand immediate action in bids to unmask the perpetrators of this suspected murder. According to them, attacks on the press must stop and stop now. Hyacinth Chia.
They took the Ministry of Communication by a storm. The media men and women are here to express their grief and demand urgent justice for Martinez Zogo, brutally assassinated by unscrupulous individuals in an unplanned audience granted them by Minister Rene Emmanuel Sadi. It was time to look at him in the face and call for a stop of the violence and intimidations meted out on journalists by some authorities.
C'est la terreur. Donc, Monsieur le Ministre, nous sommes ici aussi pour vous faire cette requête-là, pour que le gouvernement de notre pays situe cette affaire-là au niveau qui est le sien, c'est-à-dire une affaire de détournement de deniers publics impunie et une affaire associée, liée aujourd'hui à une affaire de terrorisme.
Over 3 hours of exchange between the government spokesperson and the editors, they all agreed on one thing.
We came to claim for justice. We came to claim for justice. And at the end of the meeting, the long meeting, the Minister Sadi, he said the same word as us, justice. So we came with the word justice in our mouth, and the minister, he had the same word in his mouth, justice. Justice for this crime, justice for this thing we cannot name.
And hundreds waited at the esplanade with angry faces, full of uncertainties and fear of the unknown.
Meantime, the dramatic circumstances now surrounding the alleged killing of the journalist continue to inspire reactions from near and far. In Douala, civil society actors, human rights defenders and political leaders have called for justice to prevail in the matter. Meeting earlier today, they warned that if the culprits are not arrested and brought to book, then Cameroon as a nation might begin waving goodbye to a free press. D. Maureen.
They are politicians and leaders of civil society organizations. This Tuesday, November 23, to brandish messages demanding justice for Martinez Zogo, journalist and station manager of Amplitude FM, assassinated in cold blood and body dumped at the outskirts of Yaoundé.
This horrific assassination comes in a context of increasing liberticide for journalists as well as for all Cameroonian citizens.
In a press conference in Douala, Monday, January 23, politicians and leaders of civil society organizations frowned at what they described as threats to the press to remain quiet on salient issues which to them is anti-democratic.
Journalists work for the public good, informing and educating people. They therefore participate in the advancement of democracy and the development of the community. To prevent them from doing their job is to want to twist the neck of democracy.
According to the politicians, the killing of journalists is a demonstration of a deteriorating society. They called on the media and Cameroonians as a whole to fight injustice at all levels through non-violence.
The war between clans in power that have characterized Cameroonian news for years.
They equally demanded for a special commission of inquiry to conduct an independent and expeditious findings by certified and recognized experts in criminology.
We demand the establishment of a special commission of inquiry conducted independently and expeditiously.
While waiting for the results of the investigative commission, journalists say the dirt of Zogo has come to add more pins on the dirt of others like Wazizi, Bibingota, who all died under unclear circumstances.
Now on to something else, because the Canadian government has announced that authorities in Yaoundé and a couple of separatist factions fighting for the amputation of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon have agreed to participate in a peace process aimed at resolving the protracting crisis. Up next, Kejang Henry Atembe examines the feasibility of the venture, considering the flopped attempts of the past.
After several months of pre-talks, Canada has accepted the mandate to mediate for a third round of talks between the government of Cameroon and Anglophone separatist leaders. According to one of the separatist faction leaders, Emmanuel Ndong, who goes by his revolutionary name as Capo Daniel, this newfound peace process is a courageous one by the warring factions.
For the first time, the Cameroon and the Ambazonian states have joined together to put out a common statement. This is historic and this is huge. Congratulations to our leaders for their boldness, their courage, and the demonstration of unity.
Guns should be silent, Capo Daniel further declares in a video congratulating President Paul Biya and the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute, for the peace initiative.
Congratulate President Paul Biya and his Prime Minister, Dion Ngute, for taking these courageous steps. Like we say, to declare war is recklessness, but it takes courage to make peace.
The Deputy Defense Chief of the Ambazonian Governing Council thinks the recklessness that led to the declaration of war was a mistake that needs amends, reason why he has asked for the armed conflict to stop. Joining voice to that of the Ambazonian Deputy Defense Chief, the leader of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, Barrister Nkongo Felix Agbobala, has endorsed the engagement, saluting the opening of talks between separatist factions and the government of Cameroon. According to the Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly, Canada hopes they will reach a comprehensive, peaceful and political resolution. The 6-year conflict has led to the death of more than 6,000 people, with about 800,000 displaced. With the situation gradually returning to normalcy in most parts of the northwest and southwest regions, social critics, however, say the absence of war doesn't mean peace is reigning. Reason why the warring faction must forge ahead for a lasting solution.
Meantime, Pope Francis has hailed the announcement, calling it a positive sign for Cameroon. In his January 22 prayers, the pontiff described the development as a harbinger of hope and progress towards the resolution of the conflict. He encouraged all the parties who have signed the agreement to persevere on the path of dialogue and mutual understanding, because according to him, only through encounter can the future be designed. Now, fresh information trickling from the Ministry of Finance indicates that state subventions for fuel will witness a cutback to the tune of about 50%. In other words, hikes in the cost of diesel, super and kerosene appear inevitable for the year 2023. Gladys Sambo reports.
Prices of fuel and gas might notice an increase in the days ahead after the government announced a reduction of subsidies by 350 billion francs CFA, that is, about half the amount it used as subsidies in the sector in 2022. Recent IMF pressures reportedly account for the decision.
There was already an instruction from the IMF last year instructing the government to drop the subvention on the oil. And also you follow the speech of the head of state. The last message of the head of state, 31st December, clearly said that the government will no longer support such subvention for long.
The 775 billion francs CFA used on fuel in 2022 is 3% of Cameroon's gross domestic product. By reducing this amount, the state wants to limit its cash flow tensions and allocate a chunk of resources towards development projects. These will certainly affect the daily lives of Cameroonians.
Consequently, the price of fuel is going to increase in the days ahead. And if you get an increase in the price of fuel, definitely you're going to have an increase on the price of everything, because energy is at the center of the production and importation and distribution.
According to experts, the only way out for Cameroon is to rehabilitate the Lone Refinery in Limbe.
The way we can actually solve the problem locally is to rehabilitate Sonara and exploit and refine our own fuel locally.
And to imagine that the estimated cost of the reconstruction of the refinery is 250 billion francs CFA, just about 1/3 the amount used as fuel subsidies in 2022.
And on our sports page, at a little over 25 minutes after the hour, Cameroon's intermediate national selection is bracing up for its last group game clash against Niger at the ongoing African Nations Championships, the CHAN. Stephanie Chin up next says it will be a decisive clash as both sides eye the quarter-final stage of the competition.
Cameroon is known to have one of the best digital scientists across the world. Unfortunately, the economy is far from switching to digital when compared with other countries.
Cameroon and Niger will face each other for the first time in the African Nations Championship final phase of the group stage. It is an opportunity for the intermediate Lions with 3 points at the top of the standing to defeat their opponents and qualify for the quarterfinal. Captain Dor Mokoko and his teammates will certainly not want a repeat of their 2018 defeat in Morocco during the second round of the African Nations Championship tournament. The winner of this clash will face the second qualified team in Group C on Saturday at 8 p.m. The intermediate Lions successfully qualified for this group stage of the African Nations Championship thanks to a 1-0 victory against Congo-Brazzaville. Cameroon's opponent Niger will need to come in with extra force as she obtained a 0-0 draw in her last match against Congo-Brazzaville, which led to the elimination of the Red Devils. Niger-Cameroon is scheduled for Tuesday, January 24 at 8 p.m. A clash which will determine who takes the qualification ticket in Group E.
The state of the press in Cameroon is the bone of contention when Lil Pidgeot comes on after me with our guests on the debrief. More news at 1950 with Alain Ghislain Kanga. In the meantime, stay safe and run from trouble on the double until we come around again tomorrow. Bye-bye.